Hi, welcome to your eTools webinar number 3. This is going to cover my projects and my orders. I'm your presenter, Christian St. Martin from Western Lighting and Energy Controls. Pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. What we really are looking to cover in this series is to cover all of Lutron's eTools. And these are tools that they've recently developed and introduced to our dealers to be able to help you do business with Lutron even easier than before. So where I start this out is always at the Lutron home page. So you can see where we get logged in here. If you click right here at the top of the Lutron consumer page, you're going to find register or log into my Lutron. This is going to get you into the Lutron dealer site. If you don't have access to this site, then you're going to go ahead and register right here. But we have access, so I'm going to go ahead and get right in. Okay, right now I'm logging into the Lutron My Resources page, which we covered in part 1 of this series. Just waiting for it to log in. So as we log in here, we're going to see the My Lutron apps. This is where I'm looking for to get into my projects. In series 2, we covered My Business Community, and this one we're going to cover My Projects and My Orders. I'm going to go ahead and start with My Orders. My Orders is a tool that recently replaced SCT, or the Shade Configuration Tool. The Shade Configuration Tool was the place that you did all of your Lutron shades quoting. And with the new My Project, it's going to allow you to not only create shades quotes out of it, but you can also create lighting quotes, and you can also create Homeworks quotes or Radio Raw 2 quotes, lighting controls. So one thing I want to show you here is one of the latest advancements in this is the idea that I can now assign different people in my company to be able to handle certain projects. And I can filter the users and the creators of those projects right here. So first tab I look at when I get into it, this is the My Projects homepage. I'm going to go ahead. This is my account, so I see the people from my company. But I'm going to go ahead and say filter by. I'm going to show you how I can easily scroll down, find my name, click on that, and hit apply filters, and it gets rid of everybody else's projects except for the ones that I've created. So this is kind of one of the first features that you have with this. Now you're going to also see when we create quotes, we're actually going to be able to tell it what stage is this in. Is it in the design phase, in the quoted phase, the order install phase, or has it been closed and completed, or has it been closed and lost? So that's a really good way to be able to find the things that you're looking for, and using that status tool is a good way to organize your projects. So I'm going to go ahead and start a new project right here. So I start a project in my projects by clicking on this plus sign, add projects. Click the plus sign. I'm going to go ahead and put in project names. So we can just say Smith Residence. I could put in the name of space, maybe if it's just an upstairs or it's a downstairs, or maybe a certain area of the house, or maybe a pool house, whatever. For now, I'll just leave that blank. One of the things I'm going to show you right away is this is where we can put in the status. I usually start with design. This is kind of where I start before it's been quoted. Description, which is totally optional. This could be phase 2 of a multi-phase project, something like that. Job location. So this is actually important when you want to drop ship. So if you don't put in this information here, the job location, that's okay. but you won't be able to select that as a drop ship location if that's what you're trying to do when it's time to order. So that's where that really becomes important. But maybe it's more important for you to be able to just identify that project and know exactly where it is that you might want to fill that out, but it is not required. I'm going to go ahead and show you. Watch. If I hit done here, it will show you the parts that are required. This is assigned to me, so I can assign it to anybody in my company. And if you have somebody in your company you want to assign it to, you can do it right there. Job type. I'm just going to put residential. Primarily, those of us on this webinar are residential dealers, so that makes sense. Primary influencer. If there's some sort of specifier that's like maybe an interior designer or somebody that you want to put in that space, that's what a primary Lutron influencer could be. But a lot of times a primary Lutron influencer is yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and just put our company here. Okay, and then estimated close date. Oh, try spelling your company name right. All right. And then you could put your estimated close date. So, typically these projects have a long shelf life, so maybe somewhere at the end of June is when I'm looking to close this. Okay, so if I hit done, I filled out all the appropriate requirements, and project with the same name or to exist, do you want to create a new project with the same name? Yeah, so apparently I use Smith Residence a lot when I'm doing these presentations. Okay, so now it's opened up a brand new myProjects where I can start to quote a shades job. Okay, so right here, this is the first place I start. This is called the area tree. So right here is where I'm going to start to name my rooms. Okay, new area. So I might start with living room. And then we're going to add a kitchen. Let's add a dining room. And let's add a master bedroom. So the area tree is really important because it helps you organize your project, especially when you have a lot of different shades. You're going to be able to easily find the shades that you're looking for by room. With the SET, it was a little more difficult to be able to identify that. You really had to get creative with your names. But now that we have this area tree, that makes that so much easier. Let's see, the living room. We'll start in the living room to create shades. So we're going to start with a roller shade. That's one of the most popular styles that we have. So I'm going to go ahead over here to add a product, hit the plus sign. This drop down comes down, and I can select any one of the shade types that Lutron offers. So for here, I'm going to select roller shade. And right away, what I notice, one thing you're going to notice is it automatically names the shade. Now, I could change this to whatever I want to. Now, I know a lot of us have different naming protocols and how we organize our jobs. So you can go ahead and name it whatever you want. I actually like to use the provided name because the way I was always shown was to go from left to right into a room. The shade on the very left was shade number 1 and following in series to the right side of the room. So this actually works out pretty well for me. I leave it the same. And now I don't have to really name it. One of the good things is that we are in the living room. I don't have to say living room roller shade 1. It will automatically be designated in the software because I have the room. So I'm going to go ahead for simplicity's sake, make this a 96 by 96 shade. One of the things you can know that's different about the sizing and actually inputting a size is that I could use fractions if I want to, or I can use decimal points if I want to, whichever makes most sense for you. So let's try that again. So I'm going to say 96.5. So now because, and look, it automatically changes it for me. Because, I like to use fractions because that's how a tape measure works. So rather than decimal points, but as you know, sometimes on plans there's decimal points. I always do conversions, but it's whatever works for you. But you can do any fraction you want to a 16th of an inch, as those of you who have been doing window treatments for some time already know. But I do want to put that space in there, and that's going to take that input. Okay, so we've got a 96 and 1/16 shade in width. We've got a 96 in height. I decide whether I want it to be inside mount or outside mount right here. Really basic information. Here I'm going to select my fabric choice, not a problem. I can start to put in I can go ahead and start to name a particular family of fabrics that I like to use, and then quickly find it that way. Or I can input a model number of the fabric, and it'll start to pull it up. So either way, it gets you to where you're trying to go. I'm going to go ahead and select a basket weave 90, why not, and oyster at 5%. Right here is where I select my top treatment. I could either select none, and that usually I use that. Either I'm going to create my own custom fascia, or I'm going to put this up into a pocket later. I'm going to order the pocket separately, or I can select a fascia. I can select a pocket, which means that they're going to provide a pocket with that shade. I can select fascia with top back cover, which is really great for wall mounts or inside mounts and windows, or I can select just a top back cover. Totally up to you and the project that you're doing. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and select a pocket, top treatment details. Let's see, pick automatically, or I can select something outside the box. I'm going to select my shade type, my technology. So that's whether it's going to be Savoya QS wired or Savoya QS wireless, palladium, or triathlon. I want you to notice something here. You have this yellow bar below, only allows you to, that's basically telling you what products would not be viable for the selection that I've chosen so far. So that's my little spec check that this thing has built into it. Operator type, it's going to be the roller 64, roller 100. All of these will work. Anything below the yellow line will not. So I'm going to go ahead and select the roller 64. Operator side, left or right. So that was all the basic information to create a shade. Now, one of the things that was not available in the SCT that's new is this list price calculator. So a lot of times people say, how much is it going to be about? And you say, well, geez, that really depends on what fabric you choose, you know, what type of size motor we use, right? So I'm going to show you something. If I leave any one of these choices blank, right? If I, let's say, eliminate the fabric, watch what happens to the price. It automatically changes. And basically saying, if I have a shade that's 96 and 1/16 in width and 96 high, outside mount with these selections selected, we know what motor we want, we know what technology we want. I could have a shade anywhere between $1,400 and $2,800. That is purely a function of fabric selection. And one of the things that can also help, you know, that's a pretty big swing, right? So really we want to narrow down. What if that person that I'm dealing with, the end user, has a certain price in mind? They say, wow, that's a big difference. Well, I'll tell you what, you know, I really don't want to be looking at anything that's going to be over $2,000. So what I can do is I can hit select, set max price. Keeps wanting to choose that basket weave 90 that I had earlier. There we go, set max price. Let's just put in $2,000. So now I have a max price of $2,000. Now when I go to select that fabric, anything above this yellow line will fit within that $2,000. How cool is that? Now I can only show them fabrics that are going to fit within their budgets. That simple. So, and everything below this yellow line is going to come in above that price. So that can really help you get some decisions made quickly. I'm going to go ahead and eliminate that though. This is a cool feature, but I want you to notice as soon as I make this selection. Watch this. I'm going to make this. Well, as soon as I select my fabric, you're going to notice that swing in price will go away. And there it goes. It locks in price. So now that we've made all these selections, I'm going to hit this additional options. Now we're getting into some of the more details that some of us that have been doing window treatments for a while are used to, like bracket size. I can do pick automatically, or I can start to customize it to my needs. Hem bar selection. Here's all the different hem bars that are available for this particular shade. Regular or reverse roll, railroading or not, pick automatically if you want to, custom seams, fill angles, side channels for all my blackouts, if I want to do that, lineal colors, those types of things. Right here, it's going to show me my light gaps. Sometimes you want custom light gaps, right? So you can customize it here. Let's see what that looks like. And then I can input a light gap. So if I want the bracket width to be a certain size and a fabric to fabric width to be another, I can customize this here. But most of the time, we just want to have the minimum light gaps. That's probably 99% of the time. So I usually just leave that at minimum, and then it shows me for this particular shade what those light gaps will be. Width type, I can select whether my width up here, this 96 1/16, is my bracket to bracket width, or is this my fabric to fabric width. Bracket to bracket is the most common width that's used, so I'll leave it at that. Tube size says pick automatically. This is the size of the aluminum tube that's within this shade. And I want you to see something here. It says estimated roll-up diameter. This is really useful information. So based on the height that I've chosen, the fabric that I've chosen, the motors, the brackets, the whole shebang, this is going to be the roll-up diameter, or the estimated roll-up diameter. It's going to come out close to that. Warnings. This is really important to pay attention to. So this shade may exhibit certain aesthetic characteristics such as V-waves or wrinkling on the tube. So this is a pretty common warning. We all know once we get to a certain width of shade, it's going to go ahead and say that right away. So I'm just going to accept that. That's okay. Now, a lot of people ask, what if I want to do just a fabric and tube replacement? That is where you're going to select this checkbox here. And basically, this is for when I don't want the full shade and motor and brackets. What if I have a job where I have an existing shade and for some reason the fabric was destroyed on that particular shade or damaged, or let's just say the customer just changed their mind. I can go ahead and work up a shade in all of the dimensions and all the correct criteria, and then just hit this button that says tube and fabric replacement. And when I do that, I want you to notice what happens to the price up here. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. And there you go. Significantly drops the price. That's basically taking out the cost of the motor and the brackets because they're assuming that you have them on the job site. So that's a way that you can easily just replace fabric that might have been damaged, or if a customer changes their mind, at minimal cost. But in this case, we want to create the shade, so I'm going to go ahead and hit done. So in this particular shade, what I want you to notice is that I selected the pocket to come with this shade. So this is going to come with my brackets, the appropriate brackets that go into the pockets that I've chosen. And this is going to be a complete shade. And it's going to come, that pocket's going to come in the width that's going to exactly fit the width of this particular shade. I'm going to show you in the kitchen how we can do it a little different and order the pockets separately, which is something that's common for people to do. But I'll cover that in the next room. So in this particular room, the one thing I want to show you here is this duplicate. Oftentimes, more times than not, the shade is the same throughout the entire space. It's just the measurements change and the name of the shade changes, right? I name this one roller shade 1. I don't want to have 2 roller shade 1s. That would be confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click duplicate. just duplicate everything about that previous shade. So now that all I have to do is come up here and change the name. If I don't like the way Lutron names it automatically, I can change it to my own naming protocol. And then all I got to do is change the width here, maybe just to fit a slightly different size window. Let's just do some sort of fraction so it starts to make sense to everybody. And just like that, I'm able to replicate that shade and create the next shade in the room. Now, what if I've got, this represents two windows that are within the space. What if I have a coupled shade, right? So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it. I could create a new roller shade from here and start from scratch, but then I'd have to make all those other selections before. But in this case, I'm just going to duplicate it. So it keeps all the other selections, but I'm going to actually couple this one. Let's just say this one's going over a slider door, right? I'm going to go ahead and select this button right here, which says Add Coupled Shade. But it says, it immediately brings up a warning, which is one of the biggest features of this tool, is that this won't allow you to do anything you can't do. So immediately I know I need to change my roller 64 if I want to do a coupled shade. So I'm going to change this to a roller 100 because a roller 100 will accept that. Now I want you to notice what happens. The top treatment automatically changes to the appropriate pocket size for that particular window or for that particular shade. I'm going to probably change this. So, typical size for a sliding door panel is 48 inches. Let's just say, and a quarter to do some variation. Add a coupled panel right here. If I select this, just like that. And then maybe this one's, 48 on the money. And I'm going to add another one. And this one was, let's say this one was 2/8. Sometimes they vary in size slightly, right? So, 2/8, that would be a quarter. See, it automatically corrected me. Yeah, my math skills are strong. So this is how you create multiple shades, coupled shades. A lot of people ask that question. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done. So now I'm going to say we're done with this room. Actually, the living room is a good place to do some drapery track, right? So let's say I'm going to add product, and I'm going to go ahead and select drapery. Just like that, it brings up a drapery track. I can select any one of the motor sizes. Notice it has wired or wireless. I can select that here, but since we're doing a wired system, I'm going to keep it cohesive. I put in the width, which could be some wide width, 136 inches. Do it a single track. Let's make it a ripple fold. Okay, so again, it won't let me move on unless I select the right option. So that's great. We must select the fullness option. Okay, so let's just do 100% fullness, and then look at that. Oh, let's do the metal color for the track. White is the most common, but it shows me all my selections there. Operator position, which side do I want the motor on? What type of draw do I want? Left draw or right draw? Ceiling mount, wall mount, recessed, all those options are there. Number of splices in the track, none, 1 or 2. This one will allow me to do none, so I do none. Breakaway, open only. Manual override is not available for the system. And it is because well, it won't allow me to do it. I won't tell you why, because you're going to learn that in shades training. So estimated opening size. So this is really good information now. Once I've inputted the size of my drapery track, some really important information is kicked out, right? Estimated opening size. That's what a lot of people want to know. They also want to know the estimated stack back. How much will that fabric stack up when that window treatment is open? Max fabric weight per track, so this is great. Even though I selected a D175, which should mean 175 pounds, due to various factors in this design that I created, 165 pounds is what will be supported. Number of brackets per track. So a lot of really good information here. Carrier spacings, people ask about that. Number of snaps per panel. Total track length, 136 inches. So really good way to be able to get a lot of answers or a lot of questions answered simply by creating a shade within this tool. I do that often. A lot of people ask me a lot of things about window treatments and this detail or that detail. One of the things they don't see is oftentimes what I'm doing is coming here and I'm just building the shade as we're talking and the answers start to come out. Okay. So the next room I'm going to do is the kitchen. And in the kitchen, I'm going to start to show where maybe I want to do something a little different with my roller shade. So actually, before I create this shade, I'm going to go and close this one out. Before I create this, what if the kitchen has very similar aesthetics as I had in the living room? I don't want to necessarily recreate that shade, right? If I recreate it there from scratch, I can make a mistake or do something slightly different. I'm going to show you how you can easily check your shade that you want to copy over by selecting that box. I'm going to hit this drop down here and I'm going to hit copy. And then I go to the kitchen and I can hit this drop down here and hit paste. And now I've moved that shade over to this room. And that could save a lot of time and effort. And then from here, I can just duplicate this shade as I go down the line, like I did in the last room. So that's one way that I can copy and paste over. And then I can make changes. Like, for example, in this room, I'm going to show you how I can order my pockets separately. So we created a shade. The top treatment I chose is as a pocket style. But I'm going to go ahead and put this as none. What if I want to do my pockets separate? And I'm going to have the roller 64. Let's turn this into a roller 100. Operator side, I'll just leave as left because you get it, left or right. You only have two choices. The bracket, this is important, right? To be determined. So now I'm going to have to select the appropriate bracket to go with my pocket. So see, since I selected none up here, it doesn't know what I'm trying to put in there, right? So it's going to just say, ceiling brackets are to be determined, right? So it's going to be up to you to determine what you want. Now, I might have selected this top treatment to be none because I'm going to do my own custom top treatment, in which case I would select whether I wanted ceiling brackets or wall brackets or jam brackets for that custom application. But in this case, we're here to talk about how do we build it so that it's prepared to go into pockets. I'm going to order the pockets separate because that's a common thing to do. So right here, I'm going to select this pocket brackets 4.75 by 5, which fits the roller 100. So go to my additional options, which is the same as it was before, and I hit done. Great. So now I have a completed shade with no top treatment, but it's going to have the appropriate brackets I need to go into a pocket. Now I'm going to order my pocket for this particular shade. Now, why would somebody order the pocket separately? Everybody's got their reasons for doing everything they do because they've got their experience and what works for them. A lot of people want to order the pocket separate because they want to cut them in field, custom size, and when they're there on site. A lot of times you want to order pockets separately because a pocket is actually done in the construction phase, in the build out. So versus a roller shade typically goes in the finish. So a lot of times you're going to want to order those pockets long before you order those shades. So this is a very common thing to do. I'm going to show you where you can do that. I can go right to here to trim, select the trim, and I'm going to select standard pocket. If it was a dual pocket, which I'll show you later, I would select a large pocket. but this is a standard pocket because it's going to house a single shade, a single roller shade. Top treatment, let's see. Now here I have to kind of know what I'm trying to pick, right? I have to know that the roller 100 fits in a 4.75 by 5 pocket with a 3-inch flat. I'm going to go ahead and select that. Operator type, I'm going to select the roller 100. Mounting is going to be inside or outside. I can just put outside. Why not? Those of us who've been through window treatments know that when you select outside mount, they're going to give you the exact size you asked for. If you select inside mount, they're going to give you the size you asked for minus 1/8 of an inch. So it fits within a space. But when it comes to ordering a pocket, I'm going to cut it in the field, so I'll probably just select outside mount. Metal color has various standard options. I can get it in black, bronze, silver, or white, or I can select a custom RAL color. There is an additional charge for custom colors, but typically people just order white. Top treatment width. So this is the time that we can select the width we want. Now, I can order the width of that pocket, the size of that particular window with, plus, an extra 6 inches or whatever, so I can cut it in field. Or I can take this opportunity to just order one big long piece and cut that down as I go. It's totally up to you, however you decide to do that. I believe the max size you can order in width of a pocket is 15 feet. So that's going to be 180 inches. And then select it with end caps or without. I always select yes. There it is. It accepted my 180 inches, and I probably was right about that 15 feet, because if I put 181, it probably won't accept it. Yeah. So some people order, they just take the overall project, how many linear feet they need, and they order it in 15 feet pieces and cut it in the field. That is an option for you. In this particular case, I'm just going to go ahead and set this to be like 100 inches to match the shade that I've selected, and it's going to come with end caps. Okay. So there, now I've got a trim to match the shade that I ordered. All right, so I think we get the idea of how to order that. Let's see, is there anything in the dining room that I'd want to do different? Okay, let's just explore. Maybe in the dining room, we're going to do some wood blinds. All right. So it's just going to walk me through my options here. All right. Tilt and lift wood. I can go ahead and put my measurement inside of there. It's going to only give me the fabrics that are available for this particular one. Let's try golden oak. That sounds pretty cool. Inside mount, sure. Left side operator, tilt mode, standard or decorative tape. There's actually really good online trainings and online modules on each window types, all the different options and how you measure for it on LCI Online, which we actually covered in My Resources. The My Resources training, that was eTools webinar number 1. So if you want to go take a look at that, if you're not particularly familiar with all the options for wood blinds, it's a good way to learn and refresh yourself before you go to a job where you might be talking about it. So select a decorative tape. All right, so immediately it didn't allow me to select anything I wasn't supposed to. All right, now I'm going to select the headrail, just make it in black. Okay, didn't like that either, so we'll stick with the white. Oh, Lutron recommended. I like that. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of errors here. Valance inside. Let's see if I'm even going to be able to get through this one. Looks like I probably should take that webinar one more time. So, but that's just, you can see here, it just gives you all the different options. Again, take the training online before you go attempt to create one, just like I did right there. It totally failed, but you get the idea. All the options are there. Let's see. I do want to show you, what else do I want to show you? Horizontal shear blinds, really cool type of window treatment to get you privacy and sheer. Honeycomb shades, which we already know about. Tension shades. These are the skylight shades. It walks you through all the options there. Courbet verticals walks you through the options there. Configuration kits. This is the one I want to show you that's kind of interesting. So this is for the Roman shades. Roman shades are very, very popular, but Lutron doesn't provide fabrics for Roman shades. It's considered a soft treatment. Same thing with drapery. They don't provide fabrics for the drapery tracks as well. So what you need is a kit. And this is going to come with brackets, a tube, a motor that you can then take to a Roman shade fabricator, and they can put a fabric that your customer selects onto that kit, and it will have everything you need to make it operate into a Lutron system. So select your width. Okay, so it's just giving me a little warning, which I'm going to want to read through. I can select whether I want the 64, 100, or 150, and that's it. Super easy. You don't need a lot of options there because it's just a kit. It's a tube, motor, and brackets. You know, Roman shade kits are important rather than, you know, I know some people would just create a roller shade without fabric on it or something like that, or a minimal amount of fabric. And what I've learned is that the braking mechanism inside of the motor, even though the motor is the same and the tube is the same and the bracketing system is the same, the motor inside has a different braking mechanism. So it's important that you select a Roman shade kit when you're going to do Romans rather than a roller shade. So we might have a couple of Roman shades inside of this room. So I'm going to go ahead and hit done. I just duplicated it, or I could hit quantity 2. Either way, gets you the same thing. Let's see if there's anything else that's interesting here I want to show you. Okay, we'll look into that one later. Parts and accessories, that's going to come later. Okay, so I'm going to move on into the master bedroom. The other thing I want to show you, which comes up often, is the dual shades. So since we're in the master, we're going to create a dual shade. So in this particular shade, let's just say the width is 57 inches and the height is 96 inches. I'm going to select inside mount because we're going to put this into a pocket. And this is going to be our shear shade. Let's just do, again, I like the basket weave 90 just for fun. Top treatment. We're actually going to say pocket this time. I'm going to have it ship the pocket, the appropriate pocket with the shade. Dual shades are meant to go in pockets. There is no Lutron fascia for it. A lot of people want that. The way I've seen it done in the past, if you do want to surface mount this, a dual shade, is they order the pocket. You're going to order the brackets with the pocket. You're going to mount the pocket to the wall, and then you build a fascia over it. That's how I've seen it done. I'm sure those of you who have been doing window treatments for a while have your ways, and that's great. Top treatment pocket, pick automatically, or I can select it myself. Let's see, contractor roller, we're going to do Savoya QS wired. So the only difference between the Savoya QS wired and the Savoya QS wireless shade is the Savoya QS wireless is the exact same window treatment, same motor, same everything. It comes with an antenna. So the Savoya QS wired does not come with the antenna. The Savoya QS wireless does. If you do have to order the antenna later, it's going to cost you more if you order it later than if you order originally with the shade itself when you first selected it. So I'm going to go ahead and select Savoya QS wired. I'm going to select, let's say, for this particular size and height, I can get away with the roller 64. Operator side, pick left or right. Any kind of additional information. Let's see here. So we've got the pocket. Where am I going to select my dual shade? That's interesting. If I select the roller 100, operator 100, where are you? Okay, this is interesting. Okay, so this is how you're going to find your dual shade. Glad we go through this. Always have to go through it every time just to look at it. You have to order your pocket separately. So as soon as I selected no top treatment, my bracket came up. And then right here, if I go right to the very bottom, it says none. Will order pocket dual brackets. So as soon as I select this choice with this particular shade, this is telling Lutron to put the appropriate sub brackets on that roller shade. So it will come with these sub brackets that will hook into the dual brackets automatically when I select this choice. But again, I had to make my top treatment none. So I will have to order my pocket separately. So the lesson we had in the previous room will come in handy here. Okay, so moving on, Savoya QS wired roller 100, right side, none will order dual pocket brackets. Pick my hem bar, anything that I want, regular or reverse roll. For this particular shade, I'm not going to select a sill or sill channel because this is my shear, but I will do it with my blackout just to show you how that works. So everything in here looks good. I'm ready to hit move on, done. Okay, now it's time to create my blackout. And the way I do that, I mean, obviously we're going to have the same width and height, right? Because it's a dual shade. So I'm going to duplicate this. And I might even want to name this different. Maybe I want to do blackout. And I'm going to select my blackout fabric. Oh, let's see, one's good one is value premier. And let's get like some sort of a oyster looking color going. White probably be closest. Top treatment, none. Savoya QS wired, again, none will order the dual brackets later. But here I might actually select my sill angle, yes, and my side channels, yes. And look at that, it's automatically going to pick the shades that I need to. Now, sealed hem bars show the face of the fabric, so I'm not going to use a sealed hem bar. And it's showing me that the selected lineals will receive 1/8 deduction off the width for inside mount selection. So I just read through my warnings, make sure that it makes sense to me, and I accept those warnings so it's okay, and I'm going to move on. Okay, great. Now I've got my two shades, but I'm missing two things. I'm missing my dual brackets, and I'm missing my pocket. I'm going to show you something about dual brackets, right? If I go here to spec check, and I forgot to order those dual brackets, let's say I forgot to create a separate line item, that will actually start to show up here in missing accessories and equipment. Not under warnings, but missing accessories and equipment. Look at this. Insufficient number of bracket kits for your dual shades. And you can go ahead and hit add all and it'll automatically add it. I'm not going to use this because I want to show you how to add it here in the tool itself. So here with my master bedroom, so I'm going to need a few things. I go add product. Well, first thing I'm going to need is my pocket. So let's go ahead and select trim. I'm going to select large pocket this time because it's for dual shade. Top treatment is 7x11. Operator type is the roller 100. let's just say outside mount. I'll probably order it, slightly larger than I need. So let's just say 100 inches. End caps, yes. Let's see. Hanger location, which is room side, that's standard. 3-inch without tile support, that's standard. Flap location is going to be room side, standard. 3-inch flap, which is standard. Airflow with none, which is standard. Install type dual mount. So it kind of picked everything for me. And I can hit done. So I picked 100-inch trim. My shade's only 57 inches. So let's just go back and make this a 65-inch in width to better match the shade that I created. All right, now we need our dual bracket. All right, let's go add product. Let's go to parts and accessories. Category. You always kind of want to go right through the drop downs because it can be kind of confusing a little bit for some people when you're first getting used to it, is to, where do I find those brackets? You're looking for it here, but just go to each drop down and look. Do you need brackets? Do you need cable? Palladium decorative cover, insulation? There's a lot of different things in here that actually exist that you might not even know about. But here we're looking for some brackets, and then I can easily say, okay, it's for roller shade. Operator type, we're going to do a roller 100. And just follow the bouncy ball. And let's see, I can do a couple dual bracket, but that's not what we're going to do here, but that's where you can find it. And then I can do the dual bracket kit. And this is going to come as a pair, a left and a right. So I hit done. And there it is. I created a dual shade right there. You've got a sheer shade. Oh, one thing I want to do is I want to change this to sheer. This is just my own naming protocol. You can do it how you want. I like to change this to roller shade 1. Because to me, it's the same location. So that's what I've done. Roller shade 1 sheer, roller shade 1 blackout. There's my pocket for them to go into, and then here is my dual brackets. I have completed a dual shade application. Okay, I'm going to create one more room here. This is going to be called the equipment room. So in the equipment room, I can do, let's see, in the equipment room, I can add my power supplies. So I can do it right here, add product, go to parts and accessories. Actually, I'm sorry, that's not where I go to. I'm going to go out of there. So cancel, hit cancel, continue. Okay, so I'm going to add product. It's not actually here in parts and accessories. It's actually found right here, accessories and equipment. So I'm going to select accessories and equipment. Then I can select power supply. And if I've done my count right, I can select the power supply that's appropriate for my application. Sometimes people want to use, 10 P&Ls throughout the whole thing. That's the 10 output power supplies throughout the whole project. Or some people like, maybe if you just have a few shades, you can select a single output. There's a junction box version, or there's a plug-in power supply version. You can select that and order it here. But one of the things I'm going to show you as well, if I delete this, watch. If I go to my spec check, now I have no power supplies on this job. If I go to spec check and I hit missing accessories and equipment, it's going to say insufficient amount of power supplies. And then I can automatically hit add all, and it will automatically add the amount that I need. It's really, really easy. But the one thing is that it might do something different than what you want, right? Like I said, a lot of people want to use those 10 output power supplies. What if you had, like, let's say 12 shades? what this part will do and add automatically is going to add a 10 output power supply and then 2 individual power supplies. Some people might not want that. So I think oftentimes it's best to add it in the design yourself. But if I want to see exactly what it's planning on adding, it tells me right here. So, which is 110 P&L. So let's go ahead and add it. It went ahead and created a new room called accessories and equipment. Now, if I go back to my design, this was the equipment room that I created. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And this is the one that it automatically created for me. And it put the appropriate amount of power supplies inside of this job that I needed. So that's kind of the shades portion of it. Now we can see how this tool can also be used for lighting fixtures. You know, Lutron has made a big push into lighting fixtures. So those folks that sell Lutron lighting fixtures, you can find them here. And this is the only place that you're able to actually quote lighting fixtures. So there's no price list, there's no special tool, there's nothing like that. This is the only place you can go to build out and price out your lighting fixtures. And without this project being built and those lighting fixtures in this project, you can't get a quote on these fixtures. So it's very important to use the tool for that. Let's just look at Ketra for fun. I'm just going to build one just so you can see how it kind of walks me through all the different options. So this is the D3 downlight from Ketra. This is their highest end downlight, new construction. So I just go ahead and I pick residential. I just follow the bouncing ball. You know, KetraNet or Clear Connect Type X, adjustable or fixed, square or round. All the different options just show up. And you can just easily work through these options until you have exactly the fixture that you're looking for, and it automatically builds you this part number, which is really great because you could essentially build a part number from a spec sheet, right? But to get to this part number from a spec sheet would take so long. You can see how they've just really narrowed it down into very simple choices that you can make to get the appropriate fixture that you need, you know? And let's just say in the living room, let's just say we like to work on the coolest projects here. So they're going to probably want about, in that living room, let's say there's 15 fixtures inside of there. I can then start to add my light fixtures with my shades all on one project. One of the things that's really important is adding accessories and equipment. You know, how am I going to operate those? How am I going to operate these shades? Well, I'm going to need controls, right? So I can go ahead here, add product. I can hit controls. I can select the keypad. Then I'm going to need to control it. It has 4-button architectural white. Just gives me the different options for the keypad. I select the options that make sense, and I can add that to the room. So I want to encourage you guys to go through here and look at all the different controls that are available. Let's go into parts and accessories of controls. You know, all the different clips and pedestal stands and mounting options all can be found inside of here. So take some time. You're going to go through and really get used to all the different things that you can find throughout these different buttons, right? Dimmers and switches. I can actually essentially create an entire lighting control project right through here. Shades, fixtures, controls, all one tool. Face plates, system components. So this one's big, right? I'm going to go to my equipment room. System components. This is actually my processors. So I'm going to probably want to put some brains on this job, right? Whether it's going to be radio or auto, in which case all of my shades would have had to have been wireless, in which case I wouldn't have been able to use Ketra because Ketra is exclusive to HomeWorks. So, but I'm going to go ahead and select HomeWorks. And then I can select what HomeWorks componentry do I want. Do I want the bridge? Do I want the processors? They will want the panels. It's all here. So let's go to HomeWorks. I want to select QS processor. Let's do the 2-link processor. Let's add with power supply and bridge, so I'm getting a package. And look, if I'm selecting all the items that are within a reduced price package, it's going to automatically create that package. So it's a very, very valuable tool to use. It's really come a long way. And as you can see, I can build out an entire shade, lighting, and lighting control system right from this tool. So now from here, let's just say we're done. I think I've gone enough into all that this can do here and all that we can do in shades. Oh, the other thing I want to show you in shades, I'm not gonna put it on there, but this is fabric and lineal samples. So in the webinar number 1 that I did, the eTools webinar 1 with my resources, I went into the Lutron Fabrics app where I can order fabric samples. But those fabric samples are, you know, a smaller size sample, more similar to what you would find in your fabric book. What if you need to get a larger sample? I actually have this come up quite often. They want a much larger piece. So I can actually come here to fabric lineal samples and order samples as large as I want, essentially. I'm going to just go ahead. Let's just say they want to see that basket weave 90 and oyster. I keep using over and over. And then you can see 1 linear foot is going to give me a 63-inch in width by 12 inches in height. That's a pretty big piece of fabric to make a decision off of. If that's not big enough, I can go to 2 linear feet. Now, I will tell you this, though. Oh, and I want you to look at the price. The price is not very high. It's $33. Retail price, $33. I can get one for $22 for a single linear foot. Now, if you want an exact width and height, you're going to have to do custom. And if you do custom, that will dramatically increase the price. So even if you wanted like 10 by 11, something smaller, they have to cut it. See, these pieces are already cut in linear feet, so it's going to be a lot less to just order it that way. So this is how you can order linear samples if you want to get bigger pieces for your clients. Let's see, what else can we do here? So I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to go to spec check. Once I've completed my design, I've got to go through spec check, and I do recommend going through this in detail. Look, partially configured, there is none. A lot of times we accidentally, when we're doing a shade quote or we're creating a project, we leave things out or we put things as to be determined, and we forget that we did, right? So if we did any to be determined, it would show up here. Let's see, any mixed aesthetics? Well, there will be some mixed aesthetics because we've done a lot of different things in this project. So I'm just going to go through each one of these. Look at this, the brackets. None will order the dual brackets. There's just a lot of things that happen throughout this thing, and I can see what rooms they happen to, and I can verify that it makes sense, right? It's saying, hey, you've used a roller 100 in these rooms and these shades, and you've used a 64. Well, I know I did, and that's okay. I'm going to leave that. So not necessarily a bad thing to have mixed aesthetics. You just have to verify that it is what you wanted to do. Some of the most common mistakes in mixed aesthetics is choosing a slightly different color on the fabric, and you just didn't realize you did it, and this thing will catch you if you go through it. Missing accessories and equipment. Again, if you don't have power supplies on there, if you don't have the appropriate amount of dual brackets, it's going to catch that. Oftentimes it'll warn you if you don't have any controls on the job. And then you've got your warnings. Warnings are not necessarily bad things. You just have to go through and verify that it's exactly what you want and that you're okay with the aesthetic warnings that might appear. So once I've gone through my spec check, I go here to quotes and orders. This is a really important tab. So everybody always asks me, okay, Christian, I've got through the design. How do I get a quote on all this? So I go to quotes and orders. I go right here to this little drop down arrow, and I hit add quote or add proposal. Very important distinctions. Adding a proposal is most of the time what you want to do. Adding a proposal will allow you to just get a price on that particular design that you created. It won't actually create a quote. Now versus creating a quote means take that design I did and send it to Lutron for them to put in their system because it's going to get ready to order. And that's an important distinction. You don't want to add a quote unless you're ready to order this thing, right? Now, I will say, once I've added a quote, that does lock in a price. So I will say I won't add a quote until my design is completely finished and all of my details are done and I know that this is exactly what the customer wants. Adding a quote will lock in that price for 90 days. Fabric prices can fluctuate, and unless you've added that quote into Lutron's system, you can't lock that price in. Now, if I did add a quote and I've locked that price in for 90 days, if I have to make any changes to that quote, I'm going to start that clock over again, and I'm going to have to go with the price of that day that I'm making any kind of changes. So that's an important distinction with adding a quote. Adding proposal is really just trying to get some pricing out to the client. We're feeling them out, see what they think. So that's really where I spend a lot of time. Add proposal. Let's just go ahead and do that. A lot less official. I'm not locking in any pricing. I'm just getting a price as of today. Sorry about that. Had a little dropped audio there, but continuing on. So here we are in add a proposal. And once we've created this proposal now, I can go ahead and name it whatever I want. We can leave it as proposal number 1 if that makes sense. You can date it if you want to. So just put a date in here if you want, or something like that. However you want to use that as a naming protocol. One of the things I want to show you here is it now breaks it down by room. So what if I just want to quote them particular rooms in this one proposal? Maybe I have multiple phases. It gives me that option, which is a nice feature. Let's see, select shade types. So I've got a lot of different shade types that we've created throughout here, and maybe we're not going to talk about the drapery or the roller shades, whatever it is. I like to include it all, but this gives me the ability to create an entire project and very selectively narrow down what choices I'm going to create a proposal for. Very useful tool when quoting a client. This is an important page right here. One of the things I want you to notice is include dimensions or not include dimensions. So this is going to an end user. We might not necessarily want to include all of our dimensions and work that we've done on that proposal to them. And you might or might not, depending on the relationship with that client. And then you have price type, right? Do I want to give them line item pricing, or do I want to give them just lot pricing? You have that option. And then do you want to quote this at full retail? Do you want to add something on top of it? I can just hit, that's adding 10%. So if I leave this at 1, if I leave this, oops, no, that's points. Okay. If I just leave this at 1, this is going to give me list price on this. Okay. I'm going to include dimensions because I want to show you what that looks like. But If I leave this at 1, that's complete list price. If I then add a 1.1, that's going to go to 10% above list price. And you can see this is list price, and now it's gone up 10%. Or if I want to go 10% off list price, I can hit 0.9. So now I'm given a 10% off list price for my quote that I'm going to send them. I can add in labor or miscellaneous, whatever I want, right? Labor, let's just say $3,000. Add in any notes, and away we go. So I'm going to go ahead and create proposal. Okay, and now it's basically generating that proposal. It does take, a minute or two for it to generate that proposal. I'm going to just try to fill in time while it's thinking. Hope all of you are doing great out there, and you're enjoying this webinar. Look forward to all this kind of craziness we're going through to be passed, so I can come out and see you guys again. Just want you to know I miss everybody, and kind of sick of sitting in this house, if you know what I mean. But anyway, here we are. It then generated that proposal. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and it generated a PDF, just like we're used to with the SCT. Very useful tool for us to quote our clients. And notice it says proposal up here. It gives some sort of a quote ID, but and then it gives me my details. I love this. I don't know how you guys do it, but you do your initial measurement. A lot of times it's rough measurements because you're just trying to get a quote out to the client, seeing what their temperature is on it. And then I can take this, once I've created it, I can take this report, I can take it back into the field once maybe we've got a signed contract or we got the green light, and I can just make little notes on each line item and sharpen up every little measurement, bring it back to the office and create another real quote. So, but this is my proposal. I chose to include with dimensions, but if you chose not to, then this would not be here. You can create as many proposals as you want. You can create ones with, measurements, ones without, ones with line item pricings, one with, only lot pricing. So this can be a useful tool for you to get your quotes. So I don't need to go through every single line item because we know what we created. Oh, this is actually a line item view right here. And then this gives me a little bit more breakdown into detail of all the different options that I selected for this particular shade. And there's my line items for those shades. There's my coupled shade. There is my dual shade right here. This is giving me the details of the drapery track that I created. This gives me the details of the fixtures that I created. So a lot of really good information just by creating your proposal. Useful tool. Okay. So now I want to create a quote. Let's just say this thing's ready to go. I'm 90% sure this is what's going to be the end result. I want to lock in the price, and I want to get this thing ready to order. So now I'm going to go ahead and add a quote. But before I add this quote, I want to show you something. Since I only did a proposal, I can go back to my design. I can go back to my design, and I can make changes. This is not locked out. Once I go to quotes and orders, and I create a quote, it's going to send that to Lutron to lock in. And when I come back to this design, you're going to notice that this is locked out. So that's an important distinction. Now, once it's locked out, I'm going to show you how I can create a new revision and keep moving if I do have to make changes. It's not the end of the world, but it's something that I kind of want to avoid as many revisions as possible. to not muddy it up. I'll tell you guys how to do what you do. So I'm going to go ahead and add a quote. I'm going to quote the whole job, and I'm going to create a quote. It's going to take just a few minutes here to create that quote. Now, one of the things I want to talk about is custom. That's a big topic. So how do I do something that, let's just say the software is not accepting a shade, and I want to know if Lutron can do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a shade as close to what I'm trying to get, and I'm just going to do what the software will allow me to do. So let's just say I want a shade that's 15 feet in width. What was that? Like 180 inches. 180 inches in width, and it won't accept it. It's too big. But I want to know if Lutron can do something custom for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a measurement that it will accept, the largest measurement it will accept. I'm going to create a quote, just like I did here, and I'm going to send this quote to Lutron, and it's going to be shading quotes, plural, so shading quotes at lutron.com. I'll send this PDF to them. Really, what they really care about is just this quote ID. They don't need the PDF. If you give them this quote ID right here, and I'm going to say line item X, I want to be at this dimension. Can you do it? It'll take them a few days. They got to get with engineering. They got to figure it out, make sure that they can warranty it. And then they're going to come back to you and tell you whether they can do it or not. If they can do it, they're going to send you a revised quote with the dimensions that you requested. It will be listed inside of the quote, and you'll be ready to order it. So this is a Lutron quote. This is showing budgetary estimate, which probably means that there's some sort of could be some TBDs on there that just haven't been resolved. But anyway, once I create a quote, it won't just give me list price. It's going to give me right here. See, I show no pricing because I'm a rep, right? But you as a dealer, you're going to see your price is going to be right here. And it's going to have your shipping cost. Now, some people buy through distribution, and then in which case, once you create this quote, it's going to give you a tab to say send to my distributor, and that would be right here. Or if you don't buy through a distributor, you buy through your own account, there's going to be a button here that says buy now. So you can actually buy the shades right from your software as soon as you create a quote. Or you can let that quote stand because you're trying to lock in pricing. Maybe there's more construction that needs to be done. I'm going to show you something. What if somehow we created this quote, customer accepted it, we created the quote, we got our deposit, but construction's going on, right? And then now a month has passed. And they say, okay, we're ready to do it, but you know what? We want to make a change. So I can go back to design. Now I want you to notice something. Since I created a quote, all of these are locked out. So I'm going to have to create a new revision, which is opening me up to the latest pricing structure. So, you got to decide whether you want to do that. But I can go ahead and hit this little drop down on revision 0, and I can go over to revision 0 and I can duplicate this order. There it is. So now it opened it back up. So revision 0 was that original one that I created the quote, and then now revision 1 I can manipulate. We're back to design. Now I'm going to show you something here. Maybe they changed their mind on a fabric. I'm going to show you, do I want to go through and select each shade individually and change the fabric? I could, but maybe I want to multi-edit. So I'm going to go ahead and select the picture, the icon of the shade. I'm going to choose the new fabric that they wanted. Let's say they wanted that basket weave 90, but they wanted it in a different color. Let's say they wanted the oyster beige instead of the oyster. So what I do is I change one of them, right? And then I can come up to here, this little revision 1 drop down, and I can drag or select a file to import. No, I'm going to export. I'm going to export this file. And what it does is it creates a little Excel spreadsheet. And I'm going to open that Excel spreadsheet. So this is the only way to multi-edit. And once you notice here, this is that basket weave oyster beige right here. This is the part number for it under fabrics. And then this is the oyster. See that SP12 versus the SP13? I'm going to copy that SP13, and I'm going to scroll down and hit paste. And I'm going to paste it into all of my roller shades that I had a shear on. See that? And then now what I can do is I can then save this. I'm going to say File, Save As, say Browse, Desktop. I'm just going to save it to my desktop for simplicity, Smith Residence. And then I can come here and I can actually import, file to import, and I can import this now into the software. So this is the way to multi-edit using this tool, is using that Excel spreadsheet to multi-edit. Now it takes a little getting used to. I'm not gonna lie, you got to get used to some of the naming protocols and how you can, how you can make it a quick process. But once you get the hang of it, it does really work very well. And now you're gonna notice all of my roller shade shears are now all oyster beige. So that's the multi-edit process. Now that I've made those minor changes to their quote, I'm going to create another quote because we're going to be ready to order now that we have the appropriate shade that they want. And then create a quote. You're going to notice that it is now another revision. So this is, your first one was quote ID .2. This one's going to be quote ID .3. And then it will be this one that I'll order, and I'll press order once it creates the quote, and away we go. Here I can edit project details. Any kind of details I want to change, I can edit it here. This is what I originally had set up. And that, my friends, is myProjects. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you is myOrders. So myOrders is a specific website that you can go to track your orders. I'm actually going to try to go to Lutron.com. I'm going to log out. I'm going to log back into a dealer account, one of my dummy dealer accounts, because I don't want to be into mine. All right, so all right, I want to show you my orders and what that looks like. Okay, so myProjects, myOrders, they kind of live in the same ecosystem over here. You're going to see whether I select myOrders or myProjects, they still all kind of show up in this tier here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to orders. So what happens when I've ordered lighting controls equipment? What happens when I've ordered shades, when I've ordered anything, right? I want to confirm that I've sent those in and that it's been processed. And it's here in myOrders that I can see every single order that I've ever ordered. See, this one's filtered by a certain month and year, right? But I could go back as far as I want to, right? I can go back to, let's say, give me all orders back to the beginning of January of 2019. apply filters, and I could see all my orders. I could see the value. But let's say I just ordered something recently, right? And I want to see where it is. Okay, great. I can just select that particular order. I can see the value of the order, and I can hit this drop down. And it's going to show me when it's expected to ship, if it hasn't shipped, and if it has shipped, it's going to give me my tracking, in which case I can click that button and it'll show me where it's gone and when it's going to arrive. So that's what I use myOrders for. I can also look at invoices. I can see everything that was on that order and how much it was. So this is a really good tool for me to be able to track my orders and not have to wait on customer service or anybody to get back to me on where that stuff is. I get a lot of those questions. Hey, when's this going to ship? When's that going to ship? And it's all found right here under myOrders. All I'm doing when I answer those questions is I'm coming on here, I'm putting your account in, and I'm looking at the order itself. So that's a tool that you can do that in your own time and get the answers you need quickly. And then I'm going to show you the shopping tab. Here's the shop tab. I can go ahead and start to order just parts, right? I can create an entire design under myProjects, as we just learned. Let's just say it's a full-blown lighting system and with processors and keypads and dimming modules in the closets and enclosures, and I can create all of that in myProjects, and I can order it from there. But what if I just need like a couple extra parts on the job that, I've already ordered the bulk of the job, but I missed a couple of dimmers. So I can come here, I can order HQRD. As soon as I start to put in something, it's going to start to pull up any products that kind of closely match it. And then let's say I was looking for the Pro, there it is, it popped up right away. I can put in the quantity, I needed 2 of those, and you know what, I needed an extra processor. HQ, let's just say the single link one. And notice, look, immediately it pulls up availability, it pulls up retail pricing, and it pulls up my pricing. So very useful tool for being able to find a price on something. And then I also want you to notice I'm creating a shopping list here. And then I can go to shopping cart and I can check out. So really, really cool way to be able to create shopping lists and things that you order on a regular basis. I can actually go to my list and save as a new list. And so there's just a lot of ways that you can use this to make this a very good way to get the products you need quickly, order it, and then track it from myOrders. Well, my friends, I think that's about all I have to show you today. I mean, there's obviously much more detail you can go into, but I think to give you guys the overall view of what these tools can do, that's pretty much it. So this is Christian St. Martin from Western Lighting Controls, signing out. Have a great night.